Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back again to, tell another story about uh, about being black. My Before I get into that, I want to start off by, this is now the beginning of the week following George Floyd's death, and there are still some feelings. We are, more than 6 days or so into protests and demonstrations, rallies, and riots. And a lot of people have, including myself, have feelings about all of that, everything that's going on. There's a lot of stuff happening on both sides of the argument. And I worked up the nerve to speak, or sort of use my voice as a writer. Like as I mentioned in the previous video, I was just doing a lot of processing, and I had to get to a space to where I had to do my process around it. At a certain point, like with everything with the news around the COVID-19, how in your face it is, and it has been since from the outset. Every day, constant news on your phone, on your computers, out on the streets. There's newspapers, news articles on the news, on TV. You can't escape it. And this is it's bad enough already to have this kind of thing happen, meaning the death of anyone, George Floyd or otherwise, have it happen without a pandemic going on. And even though cities and things have started to slowly reopen, and things are gradually going, are opening up a little bit more, the timing of this is at once the best and worst time. Best just because it's already the best time in terms of attention. There seems to be, I remember the LA riots, and I remember other riots since then, but never with this level of ferocity and fire and just anger. And I think because, a lot of it has a lot to do with, everyone agrees that there's injustice being done, and with the pandemic, people are out of work. So people are anxious, people have, they lost things, and so you have a lot of, more space to go and protest, you have more time to go and protest and do all that kind of stuff. This was my major form of protest. I thought I would mostly be at a distance, being at places at a distance, and sort of, and then this is talking about it in this way. It's been 60 plus cities have been engaged in protests or some form of protest, rallies, demonstrations, and riots, or whatever it is. I was surprised to learn that even in places internationally, like you have places in the UK and Italy, other cities are also protesting over what's happening here, which is I can't recall a time when it's been so where it seemed that sort of expansive. Something going beyond the United States in that way. Short of 9/11, sort of in my lifetime being alive, 9/11 was a major sort of everyone pulled together kind of event, and everything after that, people for a while had the mentality of, we're all in this together type of situation. With the pandemic now, and now because it's global, we haven't seen a pandemic at this level in our lifetimes. Of course, people might mention the Spanish flu of 1918, about a little bit over a century ago, where there was a pandemic, but things were different at that time. There wasn't the same technology that we have now. The connectivity wasn't the same, but I imagine that through the what they did have back in those days, where they were trying to maintain some sense of sort of connectedness, but much like it is now. I don't know that for sure, and I mean, maybe it's not. It wouldn't probably didn't happen to the level that it's happening now, obviously, because of how connected we seem to be. The pandemic already is global, so when news of George Floyd's death and all these other things that are happening leading up to George Floyd's death, with Ahmaud Arbery and others, and even people in the last 5 to 10 years who black people who've been killed in the last 5 to 10 years, that may resurface how all it's all seemed to come to a head with George Floyd, and how not just in the U.S., nationwide, major cities and elsewhere in other cities around the world where people are getting involved. That's crazy to me. So in that sense, I think the pandemic, the connectedness of people, we're all in this together, that sort of mantra that people keep talking about in the pandemic, has sort of found its way into this sort of Black Lives Matter and the injustices, racial injustice type situation conversation, which again people have feelings about, and I think it makes me, there's so much happening right now so fast. It's hard to really have a calmer idea around it. There's all these feelings about it. Oh, that's great that there's such support, but then also it's like, why is it taking this long, and why does it take this? Why does it take this to happen right now during the pandemic? Why did the guy have to die? All these different things. There's conflicting feelings around all of that seem to, which bring up, like I mentioned in the previous video, feelings and things and my own experiences that I felt like I had to share as a form of sort of defiance, and the idea that I'm alive to share, that I made it through different experiences to be able to have the opportunity. People have fought and died for me to have, people like me to have the space to do that, and so it just felt necessary. And to segue from that, I want to tell a story about a time where I was literally afraid for my life, and with an encounter with a white police officer. So one night I was in college. I was about, I want to say 19, 20, early 20s, and it was a Tuesday night. I was excited because many of you, I'm sure I don't know how many of you know the TV show Smallville. I'm a huge fan of that show, and show was going to come on that night, and I was excited to go to watch it. I was home at the time, and I thought, I'm going to go to the store real quick and grab some snacks, come home and relax and watch my show. So I leave home, and it's like 7:30, 7 or so. The show started at 8. It's 7:25, 7:30 when I left the house. So I'm getting ready to go to the store, and I lived at the time on an apartment complex where you have to walk up the complex and then walk up the street and then make a right, walk up that street, cross the street, and you're at the store. So I wanted to be back in time to get settled. So I was rushing a little bit. So I went downstairs and I was jogging a little bit, jogged up the street, and I got up the street before I crossed to get to where the supermarket was. And there was a police car there was a divider in the street, police car across the way, had they have the floodlights outside the car by the windows. Floodlight was out, turned the floodlight on, and went to me. And I saw it flash, those things are bright even from far away. So I was, jogging, and I was, right before the light hit me, I had stopped jogging and began walking, continuing to go where I was going to go. Light hit me, And then the guy on the loudspeaker said, "Okay, stop moving, stop." And then I waited for him to do the U-turn and come up to where I stood. I was up against the fence, and I stood there, waited for him to approach me. And the officer got out of the car. There was another car nearby. I didn't know where that car came from. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. Another car came, pulled up, and then a third car came and pulled up. And the officer got out, approached me, said, "Hey, how you doing tonight?" "I'm doing good. How you doing, sir?" "I'm doing all right." "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to the store, right over here." It was a little bit past where he stood. He said, "Oh yeah, you seem to be in a hurry. What's going on?" "Oh, nothing. I was just really, just trying to catch my show. The show's coming on tonight, and I was just gonna get some snacks and go home." "Okay." "Okay." Then he, got a flashlight in my face and looked, I had a jacket on, and then he came, asked me for my ID. I took my wallet and let him, look at the ID or whatever. And then gave my wallet back, and then he got a call on his walkie-talkie. Someone says I couldn't make it out because I'm nervous, so I'm just ready for this already to be over. Just because I'm like, oh man, I don't know how long it's gonna take, and I'm already thinking. At that point, I'm not thinking about the show anymore. I'm not thinking about making it to Smallville. I just wanted it to be done with, so I can, casually go to the store and get my stuff and go back home. Got a call on his walkie-talkie, and then he became more stern. He said, "Unzip your jacket," very seriously. Like he was looking at me. At this point, I'm noticing other officers coming by. They're walking up. They're standing by. One guy here, one guy there, and another one over here. One with they're like loosely surrounding me, but my eye contact is on the officer ahead of me. The floodlight from the other car is in my face, so I'm beginning to unzip my jacket. And I had a jacket that wasn't it wasn't new, so the zipper was a little bit old. So I'm trying to unzip it. And I'm nervous. I'm shaking. So I unzip it, and then it stops. Like it gets stuck, it gets caught. So I'm beginning to struggle to unzip it. And then the officer, he becomes impatient. He reaches for he grabs his gun, his firearm, and goes, "Unzip your jacket." And so now I'm more scared. So I'm trying to get it unzipped, and I'm trying to get it down, and I'm struggling to get it down. And he steps closer to me, and I'm like, okay, I have to just get it done. All right. So he has his gun on me, and I'm going to tell you on a pause. We can tell you that I don't know if you've ever had a gun near you or around you, or someone's brandishing anybody, anything like that, where someone is doing a quick move with a gun or waving it around, anything that's. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, there's already a sense of anxiousness just being approached by an officer because you don't know. At least from my experience, this is like you saw the last video, that, but also I made references to other things that I've seen as a kid growing up and how police officers had dealt with people that I've known. So I'm not feeling particularly safe, and so that is one thing alone. Immediately you see someone, for me, see someone in the uniform, there's an immediate sense of, all right, just be cool, and just, there's anxiousness, there's a dread already internally, and you're trying your best to be, smooth so that you can get through whatever the situation is and not have to deal with it anymore. That's one thing on its own. You add a firearm to it, and if you've ever seen a police firearm up close and personal, those things are very big. They look like, they have a weight to them. I'm not talking about any other pistol you might see somewhere else. I'm talking about a standard issue police firearm handgun. It's a very different thing I'm sure some people have, people like normal people, people who own guns might have some variation of that kind of stuff. But it's a very specific type of piece. And it's not, you get the impression that a shot from that, it's not like in the movies that you get hit, there's it's a serious situation. So to have someone grab that close, he was feet from me, not 5 feet or so, less than that, on the sidewalk. Because the sidewalk is the sidewalk. and then the street is behind him. So now I'm on the side with my back is against the fence, and I'm trying to get my zipper open. So eventually I get my zipper open, and he said, open your jacket, like with this, open your jacket. So I'm trying to do this so he could see whatever he's looking for. And then he tells me, so he's staring at me. And the other guys I'm noticing were, once the guy reached for his firearm, they're ready for something to jump off. So I can see their bodies like ready to do stuff. Jacket's open, and he's looking, and then there's like talk. They're saying stuff from the car. I can hear it, and then on his walkie-talkie, he's like, he said something. Okay, all right, we got it. It's okay, right? And then we're standing there, and I'm shaking now. My stuff is open. And he said, okay, all right, you're okay. You can go ahead and you can close your jacket now. So I'm trying to, I'm scared. So I'm going, all right, close my jacket. And then he tells me, you look like someone who just committed a crime. I guess not far from where we were, like a couple blocks away. Someone robbed somebody or whatever it is, and someone they got a call about. But apparently it had just happened for some reason, or whatever. As they stopped me, it was what it made it sound like. But he stopped me previously before the call came on the walkie-talkie. That the guy was black. He said, well, you look like someone who just committed this crime. Based on this, just you fit the description of what we got. Told us he had a white T-shirt inside. So that's why I asked you to unzip your jacket. Go ahead and you're okay. Just go ahead and take it easy. Be careful out here tonight. I walked away slowly. I was trying to get because I don't know. I'm trying to just get my mind back together. I'm walking away slowly. I'm just going real slow. So I'm just trying to process what happened. Get to the store. I'm kind of in a trance, just so I could get some snacks, whatever. I told myself, okay, well, I'm not gonna say anything to my family when I get back home. I'm not gonna tell anything about it because I already know that the blame's gonna be on me. Well, you shouldn't have been running, and you should have just unzipped your jacket fast enough, or there was gonna be something that was gonna be on me as to why that happened. And I got back home. The show I made it just in time. The show was just starting, and I couldn't really enjoy this. Like the first half of the show, I was trying to allow myself to be swept up in the adventures of Clark Kent, stuff like that. But I was shaken. I watched the show, and by the end of the show, it was cool, whatever it is. But I was a little disturbed, whatever it is, still. And I think eventually I did tell my mom. I was in the kitchen or whatever, and I had some dinner, and I was washing a dish, and she said something about something that happened on the news or something like that, and I said, then there was a silence. I said, dang, Mom, man, it's crazy. I just got stopped by the police earlier tonight. I knew what she was gonna say. I don't know. I don't know why. There's a way black families handle this. I mean, I could say for my own family. I know other black people who've experienced similar things, so I can speak. I feel like I can speak comfortably about this kind of thing. When you express something that happened to you, that's sometimes it's not cool or whatever it is. Like there's a way black parents handle this kind of thing. That's more. It's not like, oh, what's wrong? Are you okay? You don't get that in black families. Most black families, from my experience with black families. You get, well, what happened to you? Or what's supposed to be wrong with you? And if I say, dang, man, the cops pulled me over or whatever, what happened? Like, you get the tone. It's not like, what happened? Like, there's not a general concern type situation. They're concerned. I mean, any parent would be concerned about that. It's just how they express it that's very different than what you would see in a different family. And so I told her I got, stopped by an officer, and what happened? Said I was running to the store real quick, trying to come back to watch it, and immediately, why are you running? You can't be running. Now I know where it comes from, right? I know it comes from as a parent, you want to and especially as a black parent, you're trying when you come from this history of this trying to teach future generations about what to do to be safe in the world that you live in a world that reminds you of the how not equal things are when it comes to what you look like, or what people's belief systems are. I learned something today. I read something today about how when instances that look like they're about race come up, the line of thought is that, oh, you're just saying that because this person's black, or you stopped me because I'm black, and the problem with that line of thinking is that the onus is put on the black person because their very existence as a black person is a factor, that it's on them that some sort of injustice or something negative was visited upon them. And I read this, I said, oh wow, that's a whole shift in the thinking. It's not about because the person's black, it's because the other person is racist or has racist beliefs or has been groomed to believe that the racist beliefs or whatever it is. It's on the other person to be called, have their racist views called out so that they can hopefully recognize that their viewpoints are like that. And if you're open to learning about why that is, that other person can then go and educate themselves and explore how their thinking is harmful and potentially dangerous for people who are just trying to be alive or whatever, just trying to do their thing and just be who they are, whatever it is. And it was powerful for me to read that, because initially, like, that, I know that's been my thinking. Dang, man, when it was that's not my first thought. But that night I did go, I'm sure he probably did that when I was black. And certainly after he told me that I looked like whoever the perpetrator was, whoever committed this crime nearby, because that guy was, the description they gave was the guy was black, he was tall, he was, whatever build I was pretty skinny, fair, with a, white t-shirt, jeans. I was definitely wearing jeans and I had a dark jacket over whatever my shirt. My shirt, luckily, I just kept saying, luckily my shirt was like I had like a Batman shirt, some superhero shirt on underneath that. And I said, luckily it was nowhere near white. And in retrospect, thinking about it, well, dang man, yeah, he definitely stopped me because I was the black perpetrator person. It was like, all right. I felt like I was lucky. And I had forgotten, those experiences, I know that they happen and you go, oh man, that was crazy. And you're shaking for a while. But I just keep thinking, especially recently with the recent news, keep thinking back to how the guy reached for his gun to get his gun. And I was like, man, he could have shot me. Anything like that anything could have happened. And it didn't feel like it was a controlled situation. And it's just me. There was no witnesses, no one else, people were driving by. It wasn't just like, it was at night. I was scared. I was terrified. And again, this is, I'm rarely safe feeling around police officers. Excluding the friends I have who are on the force. I have friends who are on the force. And either if they're actual proper police officers, or their families have been in the force, or they're like correctional officers, there's some sort of, my aunt is a sergeant. My aunt is a cop. I have an aunt who's my grandfather, correctional facility. Like, this is like, I know that, and again, that I know that it's a little bit different. It's not like I hate cops it's just that I'm not comfortable around police officers. The people I know, are exceptions. People who I know on the force are obviously they're exceptions to the rule, and the ones I know mostly are people of color. They're Latino, Black police officers who obviously have some understanding of the different sort of struggles and stuff that are going on with Black and brown people or minority groups. A couple white officer friends too, and I've had very positive experiences with some of those officers too. It's just that, my general feeling of when I see a police officer or a group of them, out in the street somewhere, whatever it is just to keep your head down and keep going, because that I just don't feel safe. And anyway, I worked up the nerve to, draft a post on Instagram, and I've been overwhelmed by the response that I've been getting from my friends, people who never knew some of the stories and stuff that I'm sharing here, and they've known me since we were kids, grown up with them, and some of my more recent friends who are discovering these things, and it's just it's nice. I will say this one thing about what's happening in the world right now with the riots and the protests and things like that. And whether or not you condone how people are going about it, and not everyone does. I certainly don't, in terms of any violence that's growing out of that. People who are rioting, or whatever it is. But I understand the proper people who are there actually who are saying something about the cause. There are people, who are anti-protest, who are just trying to cause trouble. They're starting trouble too. And plainclothes police officers, I discovered, are also a factor. They're pretending to be protesters, looting and throwing bottles at police officers in uniform to blame some of the violence on actual people who are there for the cause, and they're there to let their voices be heard. So just to be clear about that, that's not happening everywhere, but it's happening in some places too. So I think it needs to be clear that the protesters are not actually the problem per se. There are other variables in the mix that you have to consider. And where that grows out of all of that is about feeling seen. The protests are happening because people are not feeling seen, and they're not feeling heard, and they haven't felt heard for years, for generations. And that's what this is. Any protest it comes from that. And I say that because I want to tie that back into how I've felt just in the last day with the support I've received from people about sharing my story. I wrestled with whether or not I should do that. And having people ask me whether or not they can share pieces of my post to help someone else or to educate someone else or whatever it is it helps me feel seen. Now, I didn't do it for that. I didn't post it for that. I did it because I felt called to do that. I felt called to use my voice as a person who has thoughts and feelings about these things, and as a person who is just like deeply affected by this kind of this and has had personal experiences about related to this. Like, I felt it was necessary for me to do that, and I felt so seen. And I think that's a micro example of, if people could just feel seen and heard, you wouldn't have riots and you wouldn't have these protests happening. They're necessary to get the voices out, so that you can, like, you don't hear what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about. This is what people who are out there on the front lines dealing with police officers and tear gas and being aggressively attacked by police officers who are trying to maintain order. Now, I know they have a hard job too. The officers they're trying to maintain the order, which is why now we have the curfews, right? I don't know if you may know that just yesterday and in some states today that the curfews are dropping. Like, they're dropping, citywide curfews across. This is nationwide. In order to maintain order and to keep people safe, keep businesses safe, keep different establishments from being destroyed. So it makes perfect sense to me that that the fire is there because people are not feeling heard. And I think if you'd had an exchange like what I've been having, I haven't responded to all the messages yet, but it's you feel seen, you feel heard, and you feel held, and it's healing. I know people probably have a lot of different feelings and stuff about it. There's a lot of anger out there, and I've had my own bouts with wrestling with all those feelings too, and I still do. But I think it's it takes something to be able to be out there, to get your voice out there. It takes something to do this, to be like, hey, I'm going to share my situation, to make a post or to do whatever it is. Especially if you don't do that. I don't do that. I don't post often. And I certainly don't post about stuff that's like, racially charged or whatever it is, because I know, how tricky it can be to navigate the conversations around that. People don't necessarily want to have conversation about it. People sometimes just want to get on there and attack and judge and do things, and when I'm not about that, so I don't do that. I stay out of it, and I'll likely probably stay out of it for however, I don't know how long it'll be before I post again, but I bring it up because it's been so positive and so healing, and I hope that even though I'm terrified about what's happening right now, on top of COVID-19 and on top of personal family stuff that's happening that I have to deal with, and on top of like losing my job and all these other things, I'm hopeful. I hope that I'm still trying to maintain some sense of positivity about it all, and not have it destroy, my day-to-day. So, I thank you again for, if you've listened this long and you've been keeping up with this story. I thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. And I hope you're staying safe, just amidst the virus stuff, but also with all the protests and riots and things going on. Just stay safe. I'm personally trying to keep my head down too, and stay, just stay close. Stay in the mix, stay in, and just try to keep trying to refocus my thoughts on some positive things and stuff for a little bit too. So thank you, and I'll probably be back later with another story, or at least one more for sure. I'll try to figure out what I'm going to do after that. But thank you.